What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Coffeez for Closers. I'm excited to introduce the visionary behind Nextdoor Lending, a top-tier mortgage brokerage with over $1 billion in closed mortgage volume. This leader not only spearheads a thriving business, but he also serves as the CEO and chairman of AIME, the Association of Independent Mortgage Experts, who's helping shape the future of the mortgage industry. With a decade of expertise, he drives Nextdoor Lending to excel in guiding clients through the intricacies of mortgage acquisition, turning homeownership dreams into a reality. His commitment to mastering market trends and regulations ensures that his team offers strategic, informed advice. Join me in welcoming the president of Nextdoor Lending, the CEO and chairman of AIME, Mr. Jonathon Haddad.
Hey, thank you. And if I'm ever introduced, somewhere, you're the guy introducing me. I'll tell you now.
I'll be your hype man.
Yeah, 100%, man. You brought the energy. Thank you for doing that.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother. Thank you for coming. Wearing the whoop. I like that.
Sure.
All right. So we're going to get right into it. Thanks for following the show. Thanks for, everything that you're doing for the mortgage community. You're a pillar of strength and resilience for all of us mortgage experts. And you continue to kind of, drive the industry to another level of achievement and innovation and most importantly, inspiration. So we're going to kick it off. I like to start this podcast off with the standard question, just a quick icebreaker. And that is, how do you like to start your morning routine?
So it's different now. I have twins now. They're 7 months old. And then I got another one on the way in November.
Congratulations on being a new father and a father of 3 in like a year.
Yeah.
I met you when you had none.
Yeah, you did. You knew me prior to that. So I'll walk you through it. I think for those with children, it's a little bit different. My days start very early. I'm a 4 a.m. kind of guy. The mornings for me are some of the only times I get quiet. And I think you can relate a lot to that. Our days are a lot of chaos. Tons of chaos throughout the day, putting out fires, meeting with people, loan origination. I mean, hell, we're in the real estate business, so we already know how that goes. And so that morning from about 4 to 6 a.m. is me time. It's very important that I start my day, whether it's my workout, how I get it going. I have a steam shower, whether it's just getting acclimated to the steam shower. I have the same thing for breakfast all the time. And that was the way I like to be. After kids, I've had to adjust a lot more. Definitely went off the deep end for a little bit, not feeling the way I want to feel. So making sure that that morning routine is the same allows you to have a lot of focus. So you're not really thinking about what's next. And for us, the days go so ballistic that for me, I like to start the same and I like to end the same every single day. It just gives me that consistency that I really believe I need.
I love that. I love that. And, what I love about what you do, Jonathan, is like, I think, and I would have to say this, you're one of the most passionate people.
Thank you.
I've ever met. You're when we were on a committee together, you're super passionate about that. Then they appointed you as the AIME president. You're very passionate about that. What is it that you feel drives your passion?
I love that question a lot. And I might get emotional answering. Everybody always asks like what your why is. And I think that's very similar to what you're asking. For me, I didn't go to college. I've been helping my family, for quite some time since I was young. And so it's the people that believe in me. And I'll give you, my mentor, he died 6 years ago, the most beautiful human being you'll ever meet. And somebody asked me this question and I said, what gets me going is thinking about him every day because he poured so much into me. It would be a waste of everything he gave me to not live up to what I believe is my full potential. And I still have days that I miss. I can't sit here and pretend I look the way I want. I can't tell you I'm in the shape that I want to be in. That'd be all a lie because each day I'm really trying to improve and some days I veer off. But the most important thing to me is these people that have poured into me, they give me this information for free. I don't have a college degree. They said, here you go. Here's this. Here's this. Here's how you handle this. And they just kept giving and giving and giving. So for me, not to wake up with amount of energy and passion that I have, what a waste of time this guy spent. And I will not let that guy down. There's just a 0% chance I ever let him down.
I love that. So you have that mentor just speaking to you from heaven every day.
Every day he looks down, man. And I always think about him smiling and he's like, you're an idiot, or, hey, that's a good idea. But I see his smile. It was so infectious. I just see it every day.
Who was your mentor?
His name was Stephen Luigi Piazza. SLP is what we called him. Like this guy, Man, if you would have met him, the second he hugs you, you ever hug like a grandparent and you're just like, oh man, that feels good. He was that kind of energy all the time. Like he just made you feel so good, and that you being you is the best way to approach life, is to continue to be yourself and not change and, reform to what everybody's trying to tell you to do. He was amazing at that.
I did a TV show the other day, and we interviewed Marcus Callis, and he said on the show, and he talks about this all the time, the power of hugging. And if you hug someone when you hit the 8-second mark, you actually release oxytocin, and it's like an infectious hug. And I have a feeling like, so I'm assuming, just listening to that like he hugged you for a long time, and he would when he would greet you, he was just a warm, loving guy.
And he wouldn't, what everyone said about him was so true. When you were talking to him, you felt like you were the only person he was talking to. He would take the time, like, you know how we get, man. There's sometimes we're like, don't talk to me, don't look at me, get
Yeah.
away from me. He never would let that slide. Like if I ever had that mode, because I wear my emotions on my sleeve sometimes, he'd pull me. He'd literally, 60-year-old man, 5'8", maybe 160 pounds. I'm 6'2", 250, 260, not a small guy. But he would never walk away from my desk if he knew I was in a bad mood without pulling me with him. No, I can't. I'm busy. I got to do this. Nope. Grab me by the arm, rip me to the side. And he just sit there and he refused to go to his next meet, whatever it was. And it's like, what are you doing? You're busy. So to have that kind of individual pour into you, man, I hope to God everybody gets that chance. I really do. I really do.
That's awesome. What an inspiration. One of the things that really sparked, what I noticed about you when I first met you, and we were on the committee together, is like your willingness to be such a giver, and your abundance mentality. Coming from a guy, and we come from the same culture, and I know that you didn't grow up in an abundance life, right? So, what do you think drives that abundance mentality for you?
So it's him. And I'll tell you the story. So one day, so I was working on this project. I worked for retail for a long time, and I was working on something forever, and years, sales scripts, and I built it out from soup to nuts, and was doing everything in the trainings and in early weekends. I mean, 100+ hours a week. I had so much pride into what I was doing. Well, the division I was leading had a leader above me, right? I guess is the way to put it. And they said, "Hey, somebody new is coming in to take this role over." So I'm like, oh, man, this new person's coming. Like I have all this information. I know they're going to ask for it. Like I'm not going to give it to him. I'm not doing it. So anyway, I call him. And at the time he was actually literally going through his cancer and dealing with a lot. And he still checked in on me weekly, always calling me, checking in. So he calls me, he tells me, he's like, "What's on your mind?" And he always wanted me to talk about work, even though he was dealing with his cancer and everything he was dealing with. And I tell him, so I'm like, "Man, I built all this and I don't want to share it." And he stops and he goes, "Why? Why don't you want to share it?" And I tell him, I give whatever BS reasonings that everybody gives, and I share something. He goes, "Can you do me a favor?" I said, "Sure. What's the favor?" He said, "Share everything with him." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "John, when you share everything you have," he goes, "one of two things happens." He goes, "And it happens every time. You can look this up." He said, "Either A, you give them everything and they can't do it as good as you, which means you're the outlier, which makes you more valuable. Or B, they're better than you and they do it better than you, which means you have to work harder to be better than what you already gave them." He said, "So I'm not sure. Do you see any losses in that situation?" And I sat on, and I'm getting goosebumps even telling it now because, man, sorry. I miss him so much, man. It's crazy. But after he said that, I just stopped. I was on the phone. I was probably 25. And I said, "No, you're right. I give him everything." I gave him everything. And this new person became a huge mentor to me and helped me elevate myself to literally the next level. And I look up and I thank him every day. And I'm like, okay, that's why now whenever I share, it's because of that story every single time, even when I don't want to share.
I love that.
Mhm.
I absolutely love that. You know, you continue to give, and God continues to give you more, and you just continue to give back even more. So that circle just shows, and it resonates, and you're continuing to be blessed beyond words. So, what year did you start in the mortgage industry? How old were you when you started in the
So
space?
I'm 32 now. I started at 21. April 1st, 2013 was my first official day. I was a bartender prior to that, and kind of took off very quickly.
What inspired you to enter the mortgage space?
So I'll tell you the story. I worked at Buffalo Wild Wings. All right. Shout out to B-Dubs, Westland, Michigan. All right. And so I was in there doing my thing and always loved it. I always enjoyed people. I always enjoyed connecting. Was actually going to go back to college. I had signed up for my spring classes to go back to college. Was helping the family out, had some time now and had a little bit of money saved. So I was like, let me go back. Let me go figure out what I want to do with my life. So one day this guy comes in to my bar, and as a 20-year-old, man at the time, just turning 21, you notice certain things. So he was wearing a Rolex, he had the Burberry on. He had things on that as a 20-year-old, I was very, okay, that's kind of cool. Like, what is that? Anyway, I took great care of him. I still remember his order to this day. I actually still stay in touch with him to this day, still check in on him. He checks in on me every once in a while. And after I finished taking care of him, he looks at me, he goes, how much money do you make? That's a weird question to ask somebody. So he asked me again, how much money you make? And I tell him, he goes, you want to make triple? And I'm like, what do I got to do? What is this? Is this a Ponzi scheme? So he's like, no, here's my card. Come down, come meet me. So no problem. I go down, I meet him right away. I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. All the colors, the popcorn, the bread bowls, all this stuff. I'm seeing what people are making. It's a different environment. And I'm like, this is an environment I feel like I'd really do well in. So I go home. I was going to go back to college. My mom and dad, in our culture, it's a big deal. And so they were like, college. I go to my grandma and I say, look, I got a job opportunity. What do you want me to do? She said, God put this in front of you for a reason. She said, college is always going to be there. You might as well try this and see what happens. My grandma said that to me, who, by the way, like old school as can be. My mom was even like, what did you just say to my son?
Thankfully, our grandparents don't have much of an education, so they don't really.
That's exactly it.
It's like my grandma has an elementary school.
Grade.
Yeah.
Speaks 4 languages, 4th grade education, just
she's the smartest one amongst all of us.
All of us.
Yeah.
And then I took it, and all of a sudden I exploded. They were like, I was like, I can work how many hours I want? Yeah. I make commission? Yeah. So you're not going to kick me out? I got pulled into HR the first 3 weeks because I was literally working 100 hours. They called me to check on me, and they were like, we want to make sure you're okay. I said, hey, did I do anything wrong? They're like, no, we just haven't seen this before. I was like, well, am I good? They're like, yeah. I said, great. I got to get back to it and take care of some things. And that was it. And that journey's just been going ever since.
That's awesome. Now, recent father of 2 twins, running a massive mortgage company, probably 100 people plus. I don't even know. You guys are one of the top 20 mortgage companies in the country. And now you're the chairman and CEO of AIME. Given all of this, how are you maintaining a good work-life fatherhood balance?
Yeah, I just posted about it. So one thing about me, I don't believe in work-life balance. I just believe in life balance. My life just happens to have a lot of work in it, is really the best way to look at it from a mindset perspective. It's brutal. First and foremost, like people think it's like rainbows and butterflies. It's not. It's a lot of communication, a lot of conversations with my wife, who's been a huge support through all of this. And then it's just being honest with each other. I like when I get frustrated, I need to be able to tell her that. Building my calendar around her is very important right now as well. And the kids is a really big deal. At first it's like meeting after meeting. I'm doing dinners, I'm doing networking. It took a toll on not just her, but on me too. Right. And now it's impacting that relationship and mine. So your time management and your time blocking is super important. And the biggest thing I tell people is you don't no matter how good you think you are, just know you're not as good as you think you are. Like you have to stop lying to yourself. You got to look in the mirror, be very honest with yourself. Was I capitalizing on every minute of my day? The answer is no. I would procrastinate on occasions. So now really diving into that, I got a really good business coach as well that holds me super accountable. My team holds me accountable. I stick to my calendar. I don't miss meetings. I can't afford to do that anymore. So I've had to really elevate my time management and just accept that this is my role. This is what I do. And I'm just going to get a lot less downtime.
I love that. So you got a business coach. How often do you meet with him?
Once a week, every Monday, 8:45 to 9:45 a.m. every Monday, like clockwork.
1 hour. You have an agenda put together?
So we focus on, believe it or not. So he actually was a psychologist for Rikers Island. Like he was working at Rikers Island prison in New York. So there's not much this guy hasn't heard or seen. And that's why, we have a couple screws loose being in the space that we're in. You're in that mix. I would put you in that mix.
I call it a business coach or a therapist, or both. Like
he's both. He's absolutely both.
Mine, I meet with every other Tuesday. I don't meet every week. I probably should.
It's helped me.
My wife thinks I should.
No, listen, mine too, man. She's like, does it help you? I'm like, yeah, she could keep going.
Absolutely. I take my notebook. I'm like dialed.
it helps a lot because we have our own idea of ourselves and own perception of ourselves,
Which
and
is totally skewed.
always skewed. We're very biased,
Yeah.
especially listen, when we, at least for me, I won't speak for you, but whenever we catch some success, that inflates the ego a lot. And so it's very important you have people in your corner that know how to address that ego and know how to make sure you're not nearly as good as you think you are.
My
And
wife always brings me back to reality every time.
well, sometimes you're not always listening to your significant other, right? Sometimes you're like, what do you know?
My siblings and my mom do a good job too.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they're for, man. My mom's always roasting me, messing me up. My wife, my brother, my sister.
Yeah.
But he's been really breaking down all the different facets and how I focus and what I work on and how to pull things out and what
Yeah.
not to do.
Yeah, I recommend a business coach, business therapist. They call them business coaches so they could charge more per hour, by the way.
Yeah. It's not covered by insurance. Yeah, they take it off the insurance. How long have you been seeing yours?
About a year and a half.
What made you start, if you don't mind me asking?
Initially, it was like, for me, balance was a big thing because, growing the company, 4 kids, wife also, I have to build my calendar around her. Um, so it was just to improve my whole marriage and my business life. That's really what drove it. And it did, because every time I come out with like action items for work and for my relationship with my wife, every single time, and I execute on them. I'm like, this is what I'm gonna do today. Oh, date night. Here's boom. Call the babysitter. After that, after that meeting, I have action items. I execute them on them after that meeting every single time.
And you know what, Joe, like with you too, because we've always done this. You've always been so damn honest about it all. Like that's what people don't do. It's like I know someone else is dealing with what I'm dealing with. Like I'd be ignorant to think that somebody else out there hasn't dealt with what I dealt with. And for you, we've always had these talks where it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I wanted to make sure my marriage was healthy. I want to make sure my business is healthy. Like some other people put on this facade and like, yeah, no, everything's perfect.
Yeah,
No,
no.
we all need help. And
Oh, dude, I'll be the first to tell you, I need a lot of help.
100%.
We're in Holy Week right now for the Orthodox Church, and this is the time where you really kind of like reflect on your life and you just realize like how wretched, right, of a sinner you are and whatever it is, like, and how you need to really like come closer to God and just fix all the issues you've had in you. Thankfully, this Lenten season has been I've made the biggest strides in my life spiritually with my marriage, with my kids. So it's been like, it's a great Lenten season.
How has your journey with God been, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah. I mean, I love that the reverse pod here. I
Oh,
forgot you're a
sorry.
podcaster.
Dude, it's such a habit.
No,
Yeah.
I love this. No, it's actually gotten a lot better. This Lenten season, I was just telling someone earlier today, like, I think I've rid myself of all my personal vices, like, or any vices. I'm like, now I can really like. One of the things that have held me back from like being a speaker or going out, doing sermons or teaching Sunday school or whatever it is like, oh, I have this sin and I'm not good enough to, so like now I feel like, okay, now my calling to God can really elevate, because I've gotten, I'm, no more alcohol, no more this, no more that. I'm not gonna go through my sins on a podcast with thousands of viewers right now, but
No, but listen, you gave me goosebumps. You know why? Like I told my therapist slash coach the same thing. I said, I've always wanted to be in the public eye, okay,
Yeah.
quote unquote. And I made every excuse in the book for years. And you know why I made those excuses? And he says this. He says, there's only two emotions that you actually have. All the other emotions on top are just part of these two emotions. A lot of science behind it. Fear and love. If you're fearful, you run away from it. If you love it, you run towards it. And so he said, okay, what are you afraid of? I'm not afraid of anything. He's like, no, it has to be, or else you would have done this. It's been 10 years. I was fearful of exactly what you said. I'm not a perfect person.
Yeah.
I haven't had a perfect life. I didn't grow up with like a silver spoon, or I've had to learn this journey my way. And it's not always the right thing to do. And that's okay. Like it is what it is. But now that I'm in this position, I'll use quotations because I still feel like in the grand scheme of things, it's such a small bubble. There's a lot more outside of the mortgage industry.
Yeah.
But now that I'm here, like that fear, I looked at my wife 3 days in of this new role. I looked at her, I said, hey, she said, what's up? I go, I'm not dead. And I was like, that's going to be a problem for other people because I'm not dead. And if I'm not dying, that means I'm learning. And everybody else, you got to get out of, now you're screwed.
Yeah.
I
Get
really
out of my
believe
way.
that. Now this is it. I now have the confidence to know, hey, this isn't that bad. I can handle this. So that's just a huge portion for me. And I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, I like that. Come your journey as a father, as someone who's kind of lived a crazier life, and then now you're in a position of leadership and you're on stage all the time, like we share the same issues, right? It's like it's very similar problems that we're going to face, but that's why like your relationship with God has to be so much stronger and keep always working on that, especially now, like with this world that we live in, raising a bunch of kids, like that's the most important thing is just raise them as close as possible to God so they live good, righteous lives and they know how to navigate a crazy world. I want to dive into the politics of what you've been dealing with because
Yeah.
a lot of spotlight recently on AIME, the backpack movement, and the recent journey out to Washington D.C. So we'll just talk about some of the highlights. I talked to some of the people there. I talked to the CEO of Bonzo. I talked to the CEO of Flowify. I talked to the CEO of MMI. I talked to all the folks that were out there, and just to get some perspective. So why don't we highlight the top two issues, how they were addressed, and some of the initiatives behind it, and what AIM plans to do about it.
Yeah. So I can start wherever you want from that
Start from
perspective.
what you think is the most important.
Yeah. Most important piece is like understanding the advocacy side of it for mortgages. What people don't understand on the mortgage side is there's different regulation for mortgage brokers than there are retail lenders. I don't think a lot of people can like grasp that. The fact that we do the same thing for consumers, but we have different rules. So having the context as to why we have different rules. 2008, I was in high school, wasn't even doing mortgages. But first of all, understanding the context. Number two is you need advocacy from our perspective because it's going to get more restrictive. I really believe that CFPB increased their by 50% employees. That's just not always the best light for us in the mortgage space. That means they're going to be cracking down on things. And so we need to really break the barrier because a lot of these congressional leaders have no idea about the mortgage space and what actually happens. They just don't. And that's not a bad thing. It's just how do we educate them so when they're putting bills together, it's beneficial for the entire community. Mortgage brokers are the cheapest for consumers. That is a fact. There's data all about it. We are lower interest rates, we're lower closing costs across the board. But that's not the way it's perceived on DC. A lot of it is the Mortgage Banker Association that's done a very good job from the advocacy piece, but a lot of people in that space are from the retail side of it. So that's the first piece people have to understand. And you saw some of that when you were at the event. I had a lot of meetings, wasn't in everything, but then there's a couple big topics. Number one, veteran home ownership is a very big deal. The other one is the credit trigger things that are going on, which is basically when a consumer is shopping for a mortgage, as the credit pull occurs, then they get inundated with phone calls from people that are buying that information from the credit bureaus directly and then calling that consumer to get back in front of them and to potentially give them a different opportunity or give them lower rates, lower costs, whatever the case may be.
What's your sentiment on that bill?
On the bill specifically, there's a couple things to dial into the bill. So if you read the bill, it's not the banning of credit triggers, it's the reform of the way credit triggers are actually being sold off. So the bureaus, from my understanding, Brendan McKay, he's somebody on the leading that charge. The credit bureaus, there's one bureau that's pushing back against it. The other two are kind of going with the flow. I think there's a lot of what ifs that are not answered right now. Number one, what's it going to do to the cost of credit reports for us on the mortgage side? If they're losing that potential business, what happens to the cost?
I mean, it's going to 10x.
I mean, how much has it gone up the last 2 years?
Yeah, 200%.
Legitimately, like that's not, for those listening, that's not an exaggeration. My cost to operate a business, his cost to operate a business has increased literally because credit reports have increased by 200%. And it's going up again, we're hearing. In some instances, you're paying $100 to pull a credit report. So that's the number one. Number two, the actual structure of it. How can we understand it? What's actually going to happen? The way it's written right now is if a loan is closed by, let's just say I close a loan for a consumer, then if that client goes to pull their credit report to do another loan later, a refinance of the home I helped put them in, then it's saying that the only people that can sell that information or that can have it is the person who services the loan. So if you're serviced by an entity like there's a bunch out there, obviously servicing.
A lot of servicers don't even offer loans.
Bingo. And that's the whole idea behind it is it's going to go back to the mortgage professional, the originator that did the most recent transaction,
Probably not in the business anymore.
who might not, bingo, and then the servicer, which means where does that loan go? And I think that's a real what if that we have to figure out and understand.
I just don't think, the CFPB is going to allow something like that, because what is the CFPB's sole objective? Is to protect the consumer.
Regulation.
Yeah. And the regulation is always for the consumer. So I know that a credit trigger is for the consumer, because what does that give them? It gives them the power of choice.
Mm-hmm.
The consumer can pick which option, and they get, even if they're working with a mortgage broker, that broker to drive down their commission even more, they win. Everything is for the consumer.
Well, a lot of them.
I mean, the annoyance is one thing. Maybe we can mitigate the annoyance of the credit trigger, but if you want to protect the consumer, there's really, the facts are the facts. Like, credit triggers are for the consumer.
And listen, and to your point, the inundation of the calls are what is frustrating, because it is crazy. That I agree with. The part of it that's very frustrating that needs to be shut down by the CFPB is these bait and switch situation. Like, you see it. I hate to say that, but like, you get some of them, and they're like pretending to be the loan, like the lender. They're offering stuff that's not available. That's the stuff to me where, like, I absolutely have an issue with it.
Yeah.
The same way. But to your point, the reason these were put in place to begin with, it wasn't just mortgages, it was everything across the board. And it was to protect the consumer because of all the BS that did happen pre 09, 08. I think you're 100% spot on with that.
So what was the outcome? Like, you're there with, and the other thing, and I mentioned this to you, is you have a lot of brokers saying, "Oh, we're for it, we want it to end," and these brokers, they're mad. They get, most brokers, about 95% of them, they do about one transaction a quarter, sadly. So I understand their frustration for their one client that quarter getting called 100 times, and I understand their frustration. But you get to folks like here at our company, where we have loan officers do 8-10 loans a month. They do 20x what a normal mortgage broker does. So they don't care as much, right? So what was the sentiment like when you were down there? I know that the association, was for the bill as a whole, but then once they understand and read the bill, and you chatted with them about them, are they looking to reform? Or are they looking to?
And that's the point. So the event actually was very, very nice. It was very well put together. They did a great job. I met a lot of really great people and some very high level people, like, in our space. And to your point, most of them, honestly, a majority of them, it wasn't about like the banning of it. It is the reform, because it's not being banned. There's just no way the credit bureaus, like, it's not going to happen. There's way too much money in lobbying to just completely ban it. So I think the biggest thing, to your point, I understand the frustration too. I'm the same page like you are. But to your point, would you have the same mindset and philosophy if your business was, COVID years, in terms of like the way people were operating and making all this money and all this stuff?
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like, this has been around forever. And is it the hot topic now for, like, is it just your business? Is that why it's the hot topic now, because it's impacting your business? Or is it a hot topic because you're truly passionate about it? Like, why is it such a hot topic now as opposed to 2, 3, 4 years ago? And it boils down to, for everybody, and it's not a bad thing, I get it, money makes a lot of people move forward in the right direction and what they want to do. So I think a lot of it has to do, to your point, with the frustrations and people not getting paid and not making money, not closing loans. So how do we help you close more loans? How do we get you focusing on putting more dollars, in your pocket, helping more consumers, showing consumers that mortgage brokers are the best place to be? That, to me, is where you're going to win and move yourself forward.
Yeah, a lot, and we see this a lot with AIME, where AIME has turned into a big venting area.
Mm-hmm.
You get hundreds of people venting in that space, and sadly, the venting could be used as positive energy towards generating more business, right? Or figuring out something to build your tech stack, or figuring out some automation cadence, or figuring out where to buy data or resources. And how do we relay that message, and kind of reverse the mindset that many have within the association of, like, oh, we're just gonna, it's a victim mentality. A lot of brokers have a victim mentality, not victor mentalities. They have victim mentalities.
I like that. I've never heard that. Victor versus victim. Yeah, that's great. That's a mental note that I'm keeping. I'm sorry, I'm gonna steal that. To your point, okay. Number one, It's looking in the mirror. All right. You have to look in the mirror. You have to stop thinking that you're better than you actually are. All of us, by the way. This isn't like me telling somebody, you're not as good as you are, but I'm great. I'm not. I'm very well aware I need to do more. Even listening to you right now, like you're talking about your journey with God and giving up like the drinking and all. I'm like, man, that's great. Like he's a step. That's my next step. I'm even constantly thinking about that being cerebral. You have to do the best to take the emotion out of the situation, first and foremost. If you can do that to take the emotion out, like you got to put yourself in a position to where you have perspective, not perception. Perception is, how is the world impacting me right now? How is it impacting John Haddad? You have to have perspective. Perspective is a bird's eye view. You're looking over everything and you're saying, okay, forget that it's John Haddad in this situation. How would this impact anybody in this situation outside of the fact that it's just me? And you got to logically start getting your mindset into that. And the last piece is, no one's going to do this shit for you. Nobody is. And if you think that venting, complaining, whatever it is that you're doing is going to help you do more, show me in history, show me anywhere in history where that's how somebody got something done. Show me one time and I'll take it. I'll accept your argument if you can show me one example in history where somebody complained so much that they finally got what they wanted.
So are you starting to address that message now?
Oh yeah, you're actually seeing the positivity. You know, I know you stay so focused and you're so laser focused on you and what you're doing, and I love that. But go look at it now already in terms of what we're doing, what we're focusing on. We're doing a lot more Facebook Lives. We're really giving them content back. We're getting so much more engagement. Even though when we post about lenders, I'm fixing that and declining and sending them back messages and, hey, please have an unbiased view of this and change the way you're wording it so we can really help you. This is how you change it. And you can force that change by doing what? Being in the trenches, doing it on the ground. I still write loans. I'm all self-generated business. I still work with real estate agents, tons of them that I work with. And so we have to change that mindset by what? To your point, give everything that we have that works. And all you have to do, you know, Piazza taught me this too. I don't need to change 1,000 people. I would be ignorant to think that 1,000 people want to listen to me. That's ignorance. But I can get one person. I can get two. I can get one a day. And one a day adds up. And that's what Piazza said. Focus on one impact a day. And by the time you're my age, he would say you're going to have a lot of supporters of John Haddad. So that's that same message. That's that same mantra. And on top of that, like even with the criticism, go look at how I handled it. Did I want to rip some heads off? Of course I did. I'm a human, man. Like I read those comments. It sucks. It hurts. Right? I'm with my wife. I'm like, damn, like they don't even know me like that. But at the end of the day, watch how I replied. Grace, you reply with humble, and you do what? You put your head down and you show people this is how things are done. And now I'm seeing so much more love and I'm getting people. It's amazing. I got people following me now. I got my message. My inboxes are flooded with people asking me questions. Just so happy that I'm helping and staying in front. You'd be surprised how many people want to see you win. And that's what I tell my team all the time. Don't focus on those that want to see you fail. You don't owe it to them to be successful. You know who you owe it to? The ones that want to see you win. And so that's what I work towards every single day.
I love that. You know, I know that being in the limelight in a community that is sadly in a bad place right now with the way the rate environment is, the housing inventory is. So you are going to be, you know, the one who's kind of crucified often, you know, for whatever reason, and you're not claiming to be the mortgage industry savior, but you're doing what you can to offer your piece of wisdom, of being in the trenches, of being in the weeds as a top producer, because Jonathon is a top producer. You outproduce 99.999% of the community, says a lot, and you still, you know, manage all these other things that we're talking about. So, you know, kudos to you and God bless you, and you know, continue to give you that wisdom to discern that humility, because I know, you know, it sucks being roasted.
Mm-hmm.
The more that, you know, we become figureheads, the more that just we get roasted all the time. It's just part of it. And, you know, to me, I look at every time I get roasted as like a blessing. Oh, look at that. That's an opportunity for me to get blessed. Like it's one person like just tearing me down, but just God's lifting me up. You know, like I get lifted up during that because even though the people are saying, "Oh, look, he's getting roasted," like I look at it as you know, an opportunity for grace and an opportunity for strength and opportunity for growth. So.
And Joe, like the reason I love that is like, I don't know about you, but are you the Dalai Lama? Are you Mother Teresa? Because are you perfect? Because if you are, I can't. Where are you at?
Even Dalai Lama and Mother Teresa,
Exactly my point. And they're the epitome of what people can perceive to be what greatness and just goodness and
humility,
kind-hearted. You know what helps me a lot? Like, I really love the psychology of it. And so first thing I did, you know what I started doing? I went online and I started researching psychology of social media. First thing I did. And there's a really good paper written, and they explained it. And the best way they explained it is, I growing up played a lot of video games. I was in that like culture group in the 90s. And so like the N64, all this. Well, you know what you do to a video game when you're mad? You throw your controller. Because you know why? You don't feel like there's another human on the other end. So there's a lot of studies, tons of studies, by the way. This is real data that you can look up on social media. It's the exact same philosophy people have. They don't think there's a human on the other side, because a lot of what people type is not what they'll tell you in person. Because I've called tons of people, tons, just to see, and it's not the same energy. And why isn't it the same? Because I don't feel like a person to them. I feel like a robot. And so for me, the psychology helps, because now I can put myself in their shoes. I'm like, okay, they're not mad at me, right? They're mad at the situation. And so I have to basically just read between the lines, not take it too much, and just move on.
That makes sense. They just lost that level.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
They just lost that level.
You keep losing. You keep restarting. The game keeps resetting. You're starting back at your save point. It's the most frustrating thing. So like, man, whenever there's an issue, I just go online. There's so much research done on a lot of this stuff from a psychology standpoint, and that really helps me grasp somebody else's like their feelings.
Yeah, that actually makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. You're getting roasted, but if you start a new level the next day, look, they're gonna give you kudos.
100%.
They're gonna give you kudos. Oh, but the next day they're mad at you again.
That's okay. And so I'm learning to. I told you it's new. I've never had it in my life. Like, you know how our culture, the culture is very welcoming. The Middle Eastern culture, you come in. My friends had a place to stay. They had food to eat. They had a drink. Whatever they needed, you were in at my house. The head household, they wanted to be at my house because of how welcoming. That's how I was my whole life. So this is the first time being in the public light. I've never had people not like me that don't know me. Now, I have people in my life that have met me, and for one reason or another, they don't like me. Fine. At least you met me, okay? But for me, it's very difficult I didn't realize that, wait, you've never talked to me before. How can you feel this way about someone you've never talked to? So I had to really learn to adjust.
Well, you have actually, maybe your parents, but there's a reason why, they came to the USA is for that exact reason.
You're right. No, you're right. You're very right, actually.
So anyway, we'll talk about some business stuff here, and when you, and because we talked about your mentor, and it's amazing to always hear someone's mentor, because whenever I have someone here who's a leader, they always have a mentor. I have like so many mentors. So I love that you shared the story about your mentor. What do you think some of the biggest challenges were for you when you started Next Door Lending?
I love that question. And this is just as an entrepreneur, like, forget Next Door Lending. This is just for any entrepreneur. I feel like for me, I have a vision, for a lot of things that I do. And that's just always how I've been since I was a kid. I'm a dreamer. I have visions. Like, I feel like I can see things. And for me, it's like if you were to look at life and what you accomplish as letters, A through Z, I'm very good at seeing Z. All right. I know where I start, which is A. I'm great at seeing A. I'm great at seeing Z. All the letters in between, I suck at. And so starting the company, you want to be the quote unquote man or woman that's like running everything and doing everything and negotiating contracts don't have me negotiate a contract. I suck at it. Okay. Give that to somebody else. So like learning your role and accepting your role, I think was continues to be, by the way, the most challenging thing for me ever. I need people that I can count on to get all the letters in between figured out for me. I'll tell you what I want Z to look like, but somebody else, for the love of God, get me through everything else. So that's by far the biggest challenge that I have with anything outside of, not even just Next Door Lending.
Nice. And when, like right now, if you had like some of the biggest hurdles starting the company, what do you think like the biggest one was?
Specific to the mortgage side?
Yeah, the mortgage side.
Not knowing the compliance side of it, not knowing all the intricacies to actually get it off the ground, not realizing when you're building out compensation plans, how important margins are, payroll taxes, health insurance, the cost of doing business. You don't realize that. And then the more you grow, the more people don't like you, the more potential lawsuits, the more people like are now out to get you per se. That's a whole nother ball game that just like you are not prepared for when you're starting any kind of business. So that for me with next door lending was for sure that, and then understanding, what is the focus of my company? Where do I want to take it? And then how do I get to those steps? But getting it off the ground and finding the right people, good Lord, you know how that goes. That's brutal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's something that's always just ongoing, So given the success of next door lending in a very short period, you started that, what, 2020?
2019. Yep.
2019. Awesome. You guys are licensed in how many states now?
26.
26 states. Wow. And you're the president of that company.
Mhm.
You're still scaling
Yep.
that company like crazy. You have how many LOs now?
100.
100 loan officers.
Yep.
Nice. So you're still what? Where do you rank as a LO there? Number
At our company,
Yeah.
I'm top 5, 100%. Yeah, I'm top 5 easy with our people.
Yeah, and your guys are actually producers, most of them. They're not like the average mortgage company where they do one loan for every
we got some
LO a year.
We got some hitters. A majority of our business is the self-gen side. We have our direct to consumer,
Yeah.
which is what we talked about, the trigger side of it, and then we have branches as well. So we're kind of threefold. But our biggest focus, we were 78% purchase last year. We did 832 million. We did 2,700 total units, and of that, 78% were purchase specific opportunities. So like that's a big focus for me. I love the purchase game. I love the networking. I love the agents.
I love that. And then how many in the consumer direct side at headquarters?
Not a lot now. We really are peeling that back quite a bit. I think about 18, 20.
18, 20. So you're trying to scale branches and
yeah, I love the outside sales model. It really is just like I enjoy it. You know
what I'm doing.
Listen, man, honestly, yeah, 100%. Like the way you've grown the social media side and what you're doing. And I know we'll talk about that briefly too, but I did the direct to consumer for a very long time. When I was in the retail space forever, I was very good at it. But it's not the same I don't have the passion anymore that I used to have for it. I really am enjoying the networking, the social media side, like meeting high level people, focusing on more. I just enjoy this side of the fence more than I did the other side a lot more.
Yeah, I'm with you. Setting up other independent mortgage companies is where it's at, for us, because I've never been good at consumer direct myself. Never. I've never been able to scale like a sales floor. You're a relationship guy. I'm a relationship guy. Establishing relationships, building our value that way. I feel that that's a better fit for both of us.
Yep.
Now, what do you think's in store for AIME in the next, what can the mortgage brokers expect in the next year?
So it's all about helping brokers close more loans. So the biggest focus that we're having right now is the streaming community has exploded since COVID. Specifically, companies you see like Twitch really popping off, Kick really popping off, companies like Rumble.
We're on Twitch and Kick right now.
Hey, shout out to Kick. And you've seen billions of dollars being invested, and you can see all this. Like I'm a data guy, so when I see very wealthy people that are way smarter than I am pouring money into something like this, my brain starts to go off. And so for me, help brokers close more loans means what? Let them see that I'm about my business. So things that I'm doing now are I'm going live with my realtor meetings. So here's what I do in realtor meetings. Come take a look. I've taken, and this I'm posting over the next couple weeks, so whatever, I'll share it now. But I've been recording a bunch of my phone calls with clients, how I put out fires.
Give me some of those phone calls. So give them some of these guys.
I'll send it your way. I don't care at all.
That's what I love about you. He's got an abundance mentality, guys. An abundance mentality means freely give. Freely give. You've received for free, give for free.
100%, man. And I think, Joe, the community seeing that, where they're like, wait, he's doing it right now. What are we talking about? That's going to give somebody else, Piazza would always say, give somebody permission to smile because you don't know what they're dealing with. And so that's why I have a lot of things I deal with, personally, mental health things that I've dealt with. And I don't say struggle with, because I don't struggle with anything. I deal with them and I learn how to navigate my life through them. But that's why I smile so much now, because why? Somebody else might talk to me because I'm smiling and I can tell them my story and they might be dealing with the same thing. And so my job is to give others permission to do it, to do the thing they think isn't doable. And whether that's realtor meetings, great, here, have it. How do I deny a loan out? It happens. How do I do it? How do I cold call agents? Here, have it. How do I build a business plan? Here, have it. But if I start doing all that live and I'm in it and I'm in the trenches, you can't even say that I'm not in it. That, oh, he's in his ivory tower, or what are you going to say? I'm doing it with you.
I went live. You saw this.
Either do it with me or go do something else. But don't make excuses. Don't complain for no reason unless you're doing everything. But here's what I've learned, and you know this. Everybody that says, I've tried all of that. No, you haven't. If you actually build a plan and you stay consistent, you do the same things every day, have you ever found somebody that does that and isn't a winner? Have you ever found? No, it's the people that do it for one day and go, this doesn't work. That's not how this shit works. And the other thing for the community is focusing on small wins. Get out of the mindset, get out of it, that like people owe you a business opportunity. That's gone. Everybody thinks a win right now in the mortgage space is I funded a loan. That's the main goal. That's the main objective. But in order to get there, you need small wins. Pulling a credit report. Great job. That's a win. Doing a realtor meeting. Great job. That's a win. Posting on Facebook. Great job. That's a win.
So you got to post on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn concurrently.
Wins, Joe. These are small wins that add up, and then they get you to what? Your end result. But for you to think that you can just get to the end result without you having to put in the work for the small wins, you're delusional. You're delusional. The fruit right now is no longer low-hanging fruit.
There is no low-hanging fruit.
Now you got to jump for that fruit. Go up and jump for that fruit. Let me show you how to.
You got to climb a tree.
100%, man.
That's why I said every platform, not just one. Not just one.
Look, you got me fired up. Look what you did, man. Yeah.
Got to be on every platform. I like to say, and this is after a movie, I like to be everywhere, all the time, all at once. That means Twitch, Facebook, Kick, LinkedIn, Snapchat. We're on 3 Instagram lives right now, 3 different channels, 3 different 2 different Facebook pages, 3 different Facebook pages, 2 different LinkedIn pages. So drive, and this is one thing I'm telling the community, like drive as many eyeballs, as many impressions. LinkedIn calls it impressions, Google calls it impressions, I call it eyeballs. Drive as many eyeballs as possible on you and your brand. That's the only way you're going to win right now. Like if you're just sitting there going, I'm going to sit back, relax, and wait for my phone to ring, you just may as well just sit there and pray. Just sit there and pray. Like God will send you something. He'll throw you a bone, but just sit there and pray, because that's not how you're not going to succeed. You might survive, and get food on the table, but you're not going to thrive.
It's, it's funny. I was just talking to somebody about, like, they were saying God's will, inshallah, we say that obviously God's will. But what I told them, I said, listen, I do agree, but if you listen, God's already telling you what to do. You're doing the opposite. It's like what I tell people, the story of Adam and Eve. Okay. Take the story of Adam and Eve and get rid of the religious side of it for a second. Just take it out. What's the story about? The story is somebody came, a snake came and said, hey, here's an apple. I need you to bite it. All right. God said, don't bite the apple. It's going to be terrible for all of humanity. Okay. That's what God said. But instead, right, what happened? She bit the apple. And so what I tell people is, I said, take the religion out. You know what that story is? That's that story of your brain every single morning that tells you to hit the snooze button. Okay. That's the story. The same story that says, don't send that email. Don't go to that networking event. I'm too tired to do this. Oh, I shouldn't take a risk on this. That's the same story. The difference is, you know who I listen to now? God. I don't lose that battle anymore to the devil's side of it. And that's the procrastination piece. I have my days where I lose, right? And those days suck. But take out the actual religious side of it for a second and just know the same story has been told for thousands of years before you got here. So stop being ignorant to the fact that things are going to be put on your plate. So it might be God's will, but guess what you have to do? You got to listen and execute on what he's telling you to do.
You got to execute on God's will. God gives you the will to execute.
Yeah, and you have to do it. He's not going to do it for you. He says, I'm telling you what to do. You know you should post on Facebook. You know you should wake up early. You know you shouldn't have that drink. And you're saying, but today I will. Yeah, but no, not today. And then you're complaining and saying, I'm not where I want to be. That's because you're not listening. You're not listening.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you're taking action. You're taking action on that voice in your head. Got a couple last questions. What would you say right now for newcomers coming into the mortgage industry? Because you got a lot of newcomers coming into the mortgage industry, a lot of old people leaving. We got a lot of fresh blood coming in, which is great for visionary leaders like yourself. What are you telling the newcomers coming in right now into the space?
I'll tell you exactly, because I tell it to new people that join me all the time. Are you willing to sacrifice the next 6 months to do everything that I tell you to do? Okay. And I'm not saying it needs to be me, but I'm looking directly at the camera right now because you need to go find winners. There's winners all over the place. Your job is to find them. And I promise you, they're easy to find. And when you find that winner, ask yourself, are you willing to sacrifice for 6 months? And what I mean by that is when they say jump, you say how high. I really mean that, the bottom of my heart. And you would be surprised, the ones, and I have a bunch of people on my team now, I can call them right now, and they will answer the phone and tell you that's exactly what I did. You have to be willing to submit. I have to be willing to submit to somebody that's willing to teach me, that knows more than me, that's more skilled than I am. And I do that every single day. So ask yourself, are you really comfortable doing it? And whenever they tell me yes, I always stop them and I say, hold on. Why would you say yes? You don't know what that actually means to me. Why would you just submit 6 months of your life to me, but you don't know what I need from you? And I'm trying to change that mindset right away in their head. This is not like some gimmick. This isn't some joke. Are you truly ready to give me your 6 months? I mean, everything. I tell you what time to show up. I tell you what time you leave. I tell you every event that you go to. I tell you what to post on social media. Are you going to do it? And if that answer is no, go find something else to do.
Boom. Boom.
I mean
Simple. You know what? That message, in that exact cadence, and that exact passion, that's what needs to be relayed to the broker community. That's really the new message for AIME. You know, like, take action. Do everything that I'm telling you because I'm doing it. I'm a living, breathing example of how to be successful in an industry that's quote unquote deprived. I can honestly say we are continually, month over month, this year doing better than we did last year. Every single month. We did $800 million Q1. Probably going to do $1 billion
Congratulations.
Q2. You know, and we're not making excuses. I'm not going, oh, this is going to be a bad month this month. Oh, man, this is going to be a rough quarter. We better buckle up and let go of some people. I'm going, let's dominate right now. We are going to continue to grow in this contracting environment. We're going to continue to gain market share. But most importantly, we're going to continue to empower people who thought that they couldn't have ever succeeded.
Joe, and with you too, and I won't share too much of this because it's your business to share, not mine. But let me tell you something about you that was really cool to see. And I really, we were on a call, and this was when we were doing the committee calls. But first and foremost, for people out there, I'm not saying that person has to be me, right? That person could be Joe. I don't care who that person is. You need to find that person. You might not like what I'm saying. Great. Don't have to be me. Go find someone else, right? That can help propel you. But to what your point is, you executing. I remember a year and a half ago, you were talking about having to a new strategy and recruiting. And I'll never forget, like, you were going back. I saw your mind racing at 1,000 miles an hour, trying to figure it out. And then 12 to 18 months later, I'm now watching what you've done in terms of how you scaled and what you've done. And why did it happen? Because you found the right people, you found the right team, whether it's your social media or everything else that you're doing. And what did you do? I'm going to do this. And then look what's happening to your business because of that in a down market. So that's a testament to you. And I want to make sure people know that, because you weren't sitting here just rainbows and butterflies. I literally was watching you in your car as you're driving, you finished your workout, and your mind is racing, talking about recruiting and a new strategy and how you have to reshape the company and what you have to focus on to reshape it. And then 18 months later, look where you're at. So I want to make sure people know you don't just talk about it, you're about it.
Oh man, I'm in the weeds, and I was just on the front page of NMP magazine. I'm still a producer. I'm still out producing, I would say, 97% of my company. 97%. I got 850 LOs. I'm in the top 3% every single month. And that's not even my job. That's not even my job. Like, I've learned to delegate. I have a system in place. So yeah, on top of being a CEO, on top of being this podcaster, now I'm technically on top of being an influencer. I did 30 pieces of content yesterday. On top of all that, I'm still one of the top originators of the whole company, which, is frustrating sometimes, because when you talk to loan officers going, I just can't get a loan. Like, we have 900 loan officers, 850 loan officers. And my partner told me 400 of them didn't submit a loan last quarter. 400 didn't submit a loan. Like, what do they do? Like, why are they here? Why are they with eMortgage? Guys, if you're listening to this and you're one of those 400, please resign. Please resign. Like, I don't want to fire you, but just exit the space. Go drive Uber. They need Uber drivers.
Money.
Go do something else. Like I'm telling you with 100% my full heart, and I love you guys, but this isn't for you.
No, and you
This
don't
is
want to
not
be. And
for
the
you.
longer you stay, if you're not finding that success, the
Yeah.
more resentment and miserable you become.
You're gonna be just you're gonna hate me, and I keep trying to throw initiatives at you, keep trying to throw ideas at you, keep trying to throw marketing at you, keep trying to build you up. Like we have coaching calls. I have 900 people, 40 people on a coaching call.
Mhm.
Got lead calls, marketing calls. 50 people show up. Like 900 people, 400 of them did no loans. Obviously, yeah, there's a huge disconnect, right? So you can, and I could only do so much, and I berate them with messages to show up, but whatever.
No, and that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're spot on, man.
Yeah. So hey, but hopefully they listen to this and they take that to heart and they go, I'm gonna find my next career because I'm doing them a disservice by even keeping them in the industry. You know. Now, a couple last questions and we'll adjourn here. This is a three-prong question. Okay. What is a personal goal that you have? What is a business goal that you have? What's a family goal that you have? And you can answer them in any order.
Yeah, personal goal. So I used to bodybuild. I used to be like 260 pounds, about 12% body fat, just a monster. So
Still quite large.
I'm a big boy, but
yeah.
I need to really dial it in. For me to, especially with my third on the way, I owe it to them. Like I want them to literally look at dad as a superhero. Like it has been.
I mean, you do kind of look like Mr. Incredible, like an Arab Mr. Incredible.
I appreciate that. No, but listen, like I think about it drives me crazy the fact that I'm not in the shape I want to be in. So
Yeah.
a personal goal for me is I want to get back to about 16% body fat. Is a really big goal.
Man,
for me.
you could hit that.
No, I know I can. Trust me.
Probably in the next quarter.
It'll take me about if I stay consistent, it'll take me 3 months of very consistent dieting, and I already know what to do because I did it for so long. That's a personal goal I want to have before my kid's first birthday, which is September 12th, which happens to be also the first day of Fuse. So sorry to my wife, I love you. We'll take the kids or something. We'll figure it out. That's a personal goal. A family goal, honestly, a family goal, and this is going to sound crazy, as simple as it is, but we need a vacation. I mean, just flat out, we need a real family vacation. I want to bring a nanny with us on that vacation so she can watch the kids or he can watch the kids, whoever it might be that comes with us, because my wife needs some of that. She really does. She's been on fire. That's a family goal, 100%. And then a business goal for me, I have a bunch of business goals, but I mean, from a personal production standpoint, my goal is to hit 100 units this year, all self-generated. I'm on pace to do that, which is a really big goal. From the company standpoint, I really want to scale outside sales. So I want to get to 50 outside sales loan officers by the end of this year for Next Door Lending. And then for AIME specifically, the biggest thing that I really want from AIME is the live streaming. I want to have at least before the end of the year 50 live streams through AIME directly about actually your business, facilitation of your business, realtor meeting, whatever it is. I want to do 50 live streams minimum inside of the Facebook group that we have.
I also brought this up to them. I think we need to start for AIME an X Spaces channel as well. That's where all the eyeballs are, and that's the easiest to scale because Musk is just giving away viewership.
He really is right now. We've been dialing into it a little bit. You're spot on.
I brought that up in the last committee meeting, and I'm hoping that they kicked it off already because it would get market share immediately.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. No, that's somebody brought it to me. Yeah, I don't know if it
because I brought it up
from you. Yeah, it was Rami Jamil.
Yeah, because he was on the meeting covering for you that day. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got to kick that off. That's going to be of all the streaming platforms. That needs to be number one, and it's going. They're going to roll out video on it soon.
I love that. I didn't know that.
Actually, the guy I know who introduced me, AJ Sabah, he's also Lebanese. I'm going to introduce him. He's a Spaces genius. He dominates. He's like he's the host of the most popular show on Spaces.
That'd be great, man. Whatever I can do to learn, man. Please, thank you. I know you're crushing it right now.
So, the whole influencer community, being on different shows and meeting all these like different entrepreneur influencers has been just such an enlightening community to be around. I was on this TV show, and here I am thinking I'm a CEO and I got podcasts, and so I go to this group of there was Hall of Famers of NFL and NBA. They were also entrepreneurs. They had multiple businesses. They were also published authors, and they also had a podcast. And here I'm going in my head, like talk about like really like being brought down to where you realize that now I really am nothing. Like I just like just going into it, I'm like, here I'm a big dog here. Like no, actually you're nothing.
You did, bro. You did exactly the shit we're talking about. What did you do? You put yourself in a room where people are better than you.
Yeah.
That's okay, because guess what? You're gonna figure it out. Like that's what people don't get. Put me in the room. I'm not gonna stop until I figure this shit out.
Yeah.
And that's like what people don't get. Like that's why you're doing what you're doing. And it blows my mind, man. It blows my mind.
So I got to add a couple more accolades to even be in the room next time with these guys.
I'll give you an award or something. We'll do
no. I got to get a best-selling book.
Good luck. That's not easy. It's doable.
Yeah. These guys were all authors too. They're all pushing their book on the show. I'm like, book, podcast. Like I'm missing a few elements here.
Yeah, they're doing book signings. You're like, damn.
Yeah. Like, where am I? Like I'm really a loser.
I love that mindset, man.
And then the last question I have for you, when you're in front of the pearly gates, what do you think God's going to tell you?
What I hope he tells me, what I pray he tells me is, hey, I want you to know that you definitely got it wrong a lot of times, but I know where your heart was. And I'm very proud of the man. Damn, you got me. And I'm very proud of the human being that you became. And I really hope that's his only words to me. And I will be very happy.
That's awesome. Sorry to get you choked up.
No,
God bless
it's okay.
you, bro.
Thank you. God bless you.
God bless you. And keep winning. Keep inspiring the community. Keep doing what you can. Keep doing what's right. Keep empowering the broker community to get better, to know that they can achieve much greater things, to know that they're being led by a spirit-filled man, and keep doing greatness, to keep doing great things. I appreciate you. We appreciate you for coming onto the show. We appreciate you as a human being. We appreciate your passion, and keep down in, brother.
Thank you, brother.
All right, Coffeez for Closers, guys. Mr. Jonathon Haddad. Thanks for watching.